Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. Today we are going to work on a large vase arrangement for a get well soon. So we are starting out with just a glass vase filled with fresh water and some flower food, and we are going to start out by adding a little bit of leather leaf foliage. Now I like leather leaf foliage as my base foliage so that it will help give me a grid for my flowers. Now it's always important, guys, when you add your leather leaf to your vase that it does not go below the water line. Now the reason we do that is so that it does not aid in the growth of bacteria. So you try to keep that foliage from hitting that water line. So I'm just taking and using my floral knife, cutting that stem at an angle, just tucking it right down into my vase. Okay, so there's our leather leaf, and it's all the way around in this vase. The next thing we're going to do is I'm gonna wipe my hands off on my pants because I got a little of that leather leaf on my hands. Okay, so the next foliage we're going to use, I'm going to spread my flowers out real quick. We are going to use some honey bracelet. Now I'll be honest, I do not know the origin of honey bracelet. It almost reminds you a little bit of an evergreen, but it's a pretty kind of a drippy foliage. I really like it. So I'm taking and stripping that foliage off the bottom of that stem, taking my floral knife, cutting that stem at a little bit of an angle. Now the one thing about the honey bracelet is it is a very woody stem, so it's not really easy to cut with your knife. So you might want to be a little careful when using your floral knife. And I'm just going ahead and stripping off some of those little bottom bracts there. All right, so there's that honey bracelet. Next, I'm going to come in with a little bit of seeded eucalyptus, just kind of to hang around the edge, and I'll finish it in the end with a little more. But I do think that seeded eucalyptus just kind of dripping is so pretty. So the next flower we are going to use is the blue delphinium as our line flower. So I am going to work it apart. Sometimes it gets stuck, so we're going to work that apart. I'm going to grab my floral knife. I'm going to cut that stem at an angle and tuck that right down into that vase. Cut that stem at an angle. All right, so there's our blue delphinium added to our arrangement. It's pretty all the way around. Next, we're going to come in with our purple stock, which is another line flower there. So we're going to take it, cut that stem at an angle, and we're just going to go all the way around in this arrangement with this pretty purple stock. Purple stock has such a pretty fragrance. And strip off any foliage that's on that stem that needs to come off. All right, so there's our purple stock added. So it's pretty all the way around. Okay, next we are going to come in with our white hydrangeas. So I have large white hydrangeas. I'm just going to take them, strip my plastic off, remove any of the foliage. Take my floral knife, cut that stem at an angle, and I'm dipping it in some Quick Dip. Quick Dip is a hydrating solution. Helps to keep these little heads hydrated. So I am just going to tuck them kind of right here on the edge. See how I've tucked him right in? Remove that foliage, cut that stem, dip it. I usually like to dip it about 7 seconds or so. The reason I am removing the foliage is because on this stem, the foliage is the closest to the end, right? And if you go ahead and remove that foliage, the water goes directly to the head instead of going to the foliage. And that way, it keeps the head hydrated instead of trying to have to worry about hydrating the foliage. Okay, so there's our white hydrangeas tucked in. Next, we're going to come in with some Safari Sunset. Safari Sunset is in the Protea family. I love Safari. It's the perfect added touch to me for fall. And it gives you somewhat of a line. See how it kind of gives us a fun little autumn line tucked in. All right, so there's our Safari Sunset nestled in. Next we have some pretty yellow, bright yellow Vincent sunflowers. So these are just happy little sunny sunflowers. So we're going to take those, cut them at an angle. We're going to nestle those right down into that vase. See that happy sunflower tucked in? We're going to put one a little tall in our arrangement. And then we have a third stem that we're going to put back here towards the back. So we are making this flower arrangement pretty all the way around. We want it to be seen from all the way around. Next, we're going to come in with our Babe orange colored spray roses. And just like we did with our stock and our delphinium, we're just going to go all the way around in this arrangement. Sprinkle that pretty orange throughout. And see how that orange really brings in the autumn color. And I'm just stripping any of that foliage that's down too low on the stem, but if there's pretty foliage, leave it on there, guys. It is free. So leave that pretty foliage on that stem if it does not go into the water. That way it helps to fill up some of the space in your arrangement. Leave that pretty foliage on that stem. See how pretty that orange is tucked in? All right, so there so far. Next we're going to come in with some beautiful red heart roses. So we have our red heart roses. Now let me tell you, the one disadvantage of using a heart rose is the thorns. They are so thorny. They have tons. I don't even know why some varieties have more than others. So I just took my floral knife and I stripped those roses. I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to wire this stem. Go ahead and pull off any of those petals that don't look pretty. Just remove those from the rose. Take your wire, wire it. Now really the only reason I remove thorns is because they bite me. It is not for anything else except for it just saves my fingers or my hands. So if you wanted to leave those thorns on, feel free. It is not hurting the rose at all. But it's not helping the rose either if I strip them off. It's just saving me. So that's the reason I like to strip them. I'm taking my little wire and I'm wrapping that right around those stems. You're just going to push it slightly. Drop my knife because I'm good at that. Push those that wire slightly into that stem. And twist it right around that stem. I've even used a third of a piece of wire. All you're doing is stabilizing that little neck of that flower. So at Valentine's Day especially, I will take and cut my wires into thirds And that way you're not using quite as much wire. You don't have to worry about, if you use a whole stem of wire, often it will get in the way of you cutting that stem when you're going to design. So the shorter the wire, the better, in my personal opinion. But it does help to stabilize that little stem and keep that little head standing up straight and pretty. All right. Pop off any of those petals that don't look pretty. All right, I'm going to take my knife. Now y'all, these roses are 60 centimeters. They're long roses. Leave some length on those roses. It is okay if they're standing on the top of this flower arrangement. It's okay if you leave those roses long. Don't cut them all so very short that you remove all that stem. You paid for that stem, guys. And so you want them to be long and showy in that arrangement. So anytime you're doing a dozen, leave that length, guys. Leave it as long as you can, because that's what you paid for. If you buy shorter roses, I mean, you're going to pay less money, but if you're going to cut them off so short, go ahead and buy them shorter. Don't spend that extra money on that long stem. The whole point of a dozen roses is they're long stemmed and they're tall and showy, okay? So leave as much stem on them as you can. Okay, so our roses are in our arrangement. That's so pretty. Next, we're going to come in with a little bit of Solidago. I'm probably not going to use nearly this amount, but we're going to tuck in a little Solidago. I don't want to overdo it, but I definitely need just a touch of a filler in there. So I just kind of went all the way through and tucked in my little filler. Okay, so there is our Solidago. That's looking nice. Next we're going to come in with some of these beautiful plum colored buttons. So I really like the mixture of a little bit of deep autumn colors or jewel tones with some of the bright tones. I think it's really a very pretty, happy arrangement. And that's what we want, is something happy to make someone feel better. Now, mums are long lasting. These are a chrysanthemum. It's a button mum. They're long lasting, and that's my favorite part about it. Now, not only are they really a great flower, but the longevity makes me happy. All right, I've got one more button. And then we're gonna add a few billy balls, and we are gonna call this arrangement pretty. Okay, so see how pretty we are all the way around? The last thing we're gonna add is a few of these little Crispidia or billy balls. Now I just love, these are so tiny. They do not make a huge statement when you use them, but they are so darn cute. And that's my favorite part about Crispidia, is it's just the cutest little pod. And so that's what I love about it. It just is so cute and happy. And that makes me happy. I'm silly, I know. But this little Crispidia is so sweet. And it kind of gives us just a different texture, a different shape, which is fun to look at. All right, so to finish it off, I'm gonna add just a hint more of the eucalyptus. So this is just that pretty seeded eucalyptus. I'm gonna add just a touch more to come around some of these edges. Now what I will do is before it goes out on delivery, I'm gonna come back in and make sure that we pull out any of the greenery that has fallen below that water line. We just wanna make sure that this guy stays pretty for as long as it will. So I'm gonna go in and make sure that water is good and clean. So no worries there, but look at how that seeded eucalyptus makes such a difference in this arrangement. To me, the seeded eucalyptus is the finishing touch. Just that finishing little touch it needed to call it beautiful. Now the flowers that we used here include, first of all, the foliage. We used seeded eucalyptus, we used leather leaf foliage, and then we used honey bracelet, which is kind of that evergreen looking foliage. The line flower was blue delphinium and purple stock, which was there. We used orange babe spray roses. We used Vincent sunflowers, white hydrangeas, solidago, red heart roses, safari sunset. These are plum colored button, and then we used billy balls, and that was our finish. And there is our beautiful arrangement to go out this afternoon for a get well soon. Guys, thank y'all so much for being here with me today. If you have any questions about how we do things here at this flower shop, don't hesitate to ask. You can drop it in the comments right here. Be sure to check us out over on Facebook. We do live videos just like this every single day of the week, so we'd love to have you over there. If you have not caught our live video here on YouTube, we do live videos. We do our very best to try to do those on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Central Time. And if you have not already subscribed to this channel, be sure to do that. Subscribe to our channel, hit that little bell, and you will get notifications for when we go live. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful evening. We'll see you soon.